Right, Becky, thank you very much indeed for joining the NAPE YouTube site today. We're most grateful that you can manage to come. And of course, you're representing Teaching Talons, which I think on the website is described as a mobile zoo, which sounds
a little bit different. And thanks for having me as well. Definitely an unusual one.
Well, no, I think this could be great because, you know, teachers need to know, primary school teachers need to know that there is that facility, even if they're a distance away from your home base, that at least you can work on Zoom nowadays. And, you know, you told me already that you're now gone international, which sounds really exciting. I mean, I've looked at the website clearly, and I've noticed that you describe Teaching Talons as sort of animal ambassadors. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
So it's sort of our tagline. So we're called Teaching Talons, and then the animal ambassadors is our tagline. So in my mind, really, the animals are almost ambassadors for their own species. So, for example, if we take something like a lizard into school, it's effectively being an ambassador for that species. It might be an animal that maybe the children haven't seen before, even the teachers don't know much about. And hopefully by the time they have met our animal ambassadors, as we like to call them, they'll know a little bit more about that species, their habitat in the wild, hopefully even some things they can do to help protect their wild habitat and have a passion for them. And then I suppose we're ambassadors as well for the animals, in the fact that at the heart of what we do, although it is lots of fun, it is about education. We want people to learn about these animals, and we want to inspire a passion in children and adults of all ages to want to care about these creatures. So yeah, that's kind of where the animal ambassador side of it came from, is just seeing the animals themselves as ambassadors.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, because primary education, even though sometimes the doctrines which are handed down to us does rely quite heavily on direct observation. And in your case, if you're taking the animals in, you've got a sort of 3D observation. So if the school is able to invite you and the animals in, you get that. But even on Zoom, the children could see the reaction, the colour, and how they get handled as well, which is all part and parcel, as well as talking about that particular animal, which is quite rare but so useful in the primary classroom.
Yeah, we're literally, if in a way, we're kind of bringing their learning to life. So yes, you can put some really amazing documentaries on these days. You can look at some brilliant books and images, and you can have a really good chat about it. But there is a big difference when you actually see this living, breathing creature right in front of you, or even, yes, through the power of Zoom, they're seeing the animal actually move around. Maybe it even looks at the camera sometimes. So it's just sort of taking it to that next level.
Yes, for which I'm a great believer. If we now move on to look at a particular sentence on your website which caught my attention certainly, which says, if you're a teacher looking for an inspiring presentation or workshop. So what does that entail? There you are, you've sort of turned up at a school or a class. What happens next?
So literally we come about half an hour before, because obviously we've got to get everything unloaded and all these real life animals set up so that they're comfy and happy and warm enough and things. And we effectively create like a little jungle themed area, not dissimilar to sort of my backdrop today, but obviously a bit more to it.
Nice. Yes,
real life.
Yes.
So quite visually, the second they walk into the classroom or the hall, whatever area we've set up, it's instantly quite exciting. You know, they don't know what's in all these boxes. They can see these various tanks. They don't know what's going to come out yet. And then typically for a school, if it's in real life, we tend to do a 50-minute workshop per class. Timetable it into an hour-long slot. So if there are multiple classes, we can swap them over. All the children will be sat at a nice U shape of tables and chairs facing our animal stand. So, you know, they've all got a good view the whole time. They can see our presenters, our setup, whichever creature's coming round. And then generally we bring about 6 species often matched to whatever curriculum-based topic they're doing, such as rainforests, mini beasts, nocturnal animals. And then we get them out one at a time and just introduce the children to them, really. And wherever we can, wherever it's sort of safe and appropriate to do so, we can get them touching that animal as well, maybe even feeding them or watching them eat. So yeah, it is very inspiring because it's something a bit different. Like I said earlier, it does bring their learning to life. And the idea is it's going to be quite a unique experience that they remember it. You know, you tell them these facts and they can actually parrot quite a lot of what they've learned back to you afterwards in their follow-up work. So it really seems to ingrain it, and it gets their passions going as well. So it's definitely something different to have at school.
I mean, that's what I'd like to see in a way, is to be a fly on the wall to see that follow-up work. Do you ever get an opportunity to see any of that work at all? Because that would be
sometimes. It's one of those things where teachers like me are these crazy busy people, and the follow-up work doesn't always make it back to us. But we do normally get some great feedback. Quite often the teachers will email afterwards to say how great it was and how much the children did remember. And even, you know, they'll breach it into other subjects. So they might actually do some English, writing about the animals they've seen. So it's not always just limited to the topic we've specifically got. Quite often the teachers will lead it into other subjects with the follow-up work as well.
That sounds absolutely amazing. I suspect you may even get some thank you letters from the children, because they're our favourite.
We like receiving fan mail.
You like to get some fan mail. Excellent. So there you are in the classroom. You've done the session. You've already talked about the resource of those live animals. What other resources could you provide or sell to the school? What else can you do for that event?
It depends on the topic. So for some topics, we do actually have worksheets that will go alongside it. So for example, on the differences between endoskeletons and exoskeletons. Sometimes within session we'll have a resource. So if they're doing something like classification and animal groupings, they'll have a little flowchart in front of them to help them kind of figure out for themselves which group each animal belongs to. If it's rainforests, we'll have some rainforest maps out. So again, we're talking obviously about the impact of deforestation and these forests shrinking, and as well as seeing that real animal from whichever rainforest it is, they can also sit and find it on their maps and see how much it's shrunk. So it does depend on the topic, and then they all take a little postcard home as well, which just has some nice pictures on of the animals they've seen and our information as well, just as a little souvenir. So it depends on the topic, but we've got a sort of variety of resources like maps, charts and worksheets.
I mean, you mentioned postcards. Do you actually get the occasion where a parent will ring up and say, could you bring some animals to the party that I'm organising?
All the time, yeah. So it is a little bit of a clever marketing ploy as well, because obviously the children naturally want to take this lovely card home with the pictures on, but it does also mean we often get invited back because the children have come home raving, and often when the parents email us to say that they'd like a party, they will say, oh, you know, my child saw you at school, he hasn't stopped talking about it since, he really, really wants you for his party. And even if some of the animals cross over that they've seen already, you know, they'll remember their name. They're excited to see them again, as well as the ones they haven't met before. So yeah, we do get quite a lot of follow-up work through our visits as well.
So what kind of animals, you've talked about the different groups of animals and classification of animals. What exactly, which animals do you bring in?
So we're a relatively small collection because obviously it all has to live in my house at home in its own relevant purpose-built areas of the house.
You mean the zoo? Yes.
Yeah, the mobiles in from the house, and it's got to be transportable as well and appropriate to transport. So we're a relatively small collection. So our largest animal is our rescue dog, Chip. He's very famous. I did send you through some photos of him, so I'm sure they'll appear at some point. He's trained, so he can teach the children obviously how to behave around dogs and he'll do some tricks, which is a nice little reward at the end if they've behaved nice and sensibly around the animals. So we have more normal things like that, and we've got guinea pigs, so something more common, shall we say. And then we have a whole variety of small mammals that are more unusual, like we have a hedgehog, we have a lesser Tenrec, which is a small spiny mammal from the island of Madagascar. No one's ever heard of them. Great for rainforests.
Yes.
We have a great range of invertebrates as well. We do a lot of mini beast sessions. So things like giant African land snails, the world's largest millipede, the world's largest leaf insect with incredible camouflage. And then we have reptiles like tortoises, corn snakes, lizards, and of course our beautiful owl, Pigwidgeon, who you might get to see in a little bit, Mike.
Oh, wow, that would be a treat for me. Excellent, excellent. You mentioned right at the beginning, talking about the animals, the rescued dog. Do you find that some of your sources sort of stems from rescue animals?
Yeah, so obviously our animals do have to be right for what we do. You can't just take any old animal in a vehicle and to a school and a potentially noisy group of children that are excited for their party. But we do try to rescue them wherever we can. So I am an ex-zookeeper by trade. That's how Teaching Talons came around. So I have a degree in animal behaviour and training, went on to be a zookeeper, got more involved in the educational side of things, the talks, the shows, and that's how this was born. So occasionally our animals might come from our contacts in zoos and other collections, but most of the time we kind of let them find us now. So most of them are unwanted pets that maybe people just can't have anymore, or a child's lost interest in them. Some of them are actually directly from rescue centres, like the dog, our guinea pigs. So it depends, but wherever possible, we always prefer to adopt rather than shop for animals. And the only exception really would be more sensitive animals like our owl and our hedgehog. So because they are naturally shyer creatures, it's important to get them from a responsible source that's raised them from young to actually be used to humans already, so that groundwork is already done for us, and then we can just build for it. You probably couldn't rescue an owl and then expect it to go to school without being completely overwhelmed. But yes, wherever possible, they're all rescues and rehomes, and none of our animals are ever taken from the wild, with the exception of the odd invertebrate, such as our giant African land snails, which, believe it or not, were originally imported legally from Africa to be sold at a London market for food, because of course we forget this, but different cultures eat different things, and in Africa they eat giant African land snails. But yes, other than that, our animals aren't taken from the wild. I seem to end up involved in all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So yes, I have been known to make my husband stop the car very suddenly because I've seen a hedgehog running along in broad daylight that's in need of help. And we've actually found an injured one before that's ultimately gone into rehab at a brilliant place called Spiny Norman's Hedgehog Rescue. And then that's actually come back to be released here. So we've been part of its soft release process in our own garden. Also, in my very limited spare time, I have been known to be a bat carer for the Bedfordshire Bat Group. So I'm all vaccinated up, and I'm allowed to help with bats when they come in from things like cat attacks, or if they're found out in the day. I even actually nursed a bat pup last year in lockdown, from a little tiny baby, smaller than a 50p, until he was big enough and had learnt to fly, and then he got released in the garden. So although that's not technically part of the day job and Teaching Talons, I think, animals do generally take over my whole life.
I was going to say, it seems to touch your life in all sorts of different ways.
It does.
So what do you think is the future for Teaching Talons? Where do you see it going from now?
We just want to keep growing, really. I mean, we don't necessarily want to have, multiple branches and franchises and be national. It's an option, of course.
I did wonder.
Obviously, Zoom is great because it does now mean we can kind of go UK-wide, and as you touched on earlier, worldwide. We've visited schools virtually in places like Germany and Dubai, but to keep growing in the local area mainly. So we're already a multi-award winning animal encounters business, which sets us apart from a lot of the others, and we'd just like to become the go-to animal encounters company, really, certainly for the Herts, Beds and Bucks area, and for the online market. We want to be the ones that are known as giving the best presentations, giving the most information, having the healthiest animals with the best welfare standards, and the people that people want to have us in.
All music to my ears. And of course, you're a company, so there is a cost linked to the services you can provide to schools and classrooms. So perhaps if I put that up on the screen at the end, if that's okay with you, Becky.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to add about your marvellous organisation doing so much good work in our primary schools?
Yeah, I think it's just overall, really, all I want to do is just pass my passion and my knowledge and experience on to others. And I think it is a really important thing to get things like animals into primary education, as long as it's done in a professional license insured way, so that the children can experience it. You know, not all families are able to take their children out to some of our brilliant big UK zoos, and some of the children we meet have never seen anything more exotic than a grey squirrel, perhaps running past the road. So yes, I think it's really important when children are in primary education to get them experiencing these things and having an interest and a passion for them, because it's not just about the individual animals, like I said before, the animal ambassadors. It's about the whole world. You know, our habitats are shrinking. We are effectively destroying the planet through things like a lack of recycling, using too much plastic. So if at a primary age we can get children caring about the planet and these amazing habitats and creatures, then obviously hopefully that's going to lead to a better tomorrow in the long run.
Now, Becky, I understand you've got some visitors with you today.
Yeah, I thought, Mike, I couldn't possibly come on Zoom without turning it into a zoo. So I've got two creatures that I can show you before we say goodbye today. And the first one I do need to pop my special glove on for, which I'm sure some people watching this will know exactly what's about to hop out of the box that I've got under here. Hopefully he won't land on my head during a live recording. Oh no, we're being a very sensible boy. So this, Mike, is pig widgeon. So again, some of the English teachers watching this may recognise the name pig widgeon. So he's actually named after Ron Weasley's owl in the Harry Potter books. And according to J.K. Rowling, the character pig widgeon is based on a southern white-faced owl, which is precisely what our pidge or pig widgeon is. So yeah, he's only a small owl. So again, he's perfect to take out to schools. He's not too big to transport, and he's quite happy in his little nest box in the car. And if I hold him back from the camera, you can see how little he is. He's actually bigger in his photograph.
I just love the way his head swivels.
Yeah, incredible. So I mean, we've all got 7 bones in our neck, whereas owls have evolved these amazing necks that actually have 14 bones, so they can actually turn their head about 270 degrees. And that's to make up for the fact, if you watch him, that he can't actually move his eyeballs. And of course, this is typically when he doesn't look at the camera, but a lot of the children think that he's animatronic or he's not real. And I think part of that is because the eyes are fixed in the sockets. So he has to turn his whole head if he wants to look at something. And that's how these guys have evolved these incredible necks. But he's beautiful, isn't he?
I mean, it's that sort of information that children would find absolutely fascinating. Yeah, lovely, lovely.
He is lovely. And I will show you the lizard quickly as well before we go. Pig widgeon, however, he probably won't want to go back in his box. He'll probably think he's been admired for far too short a length of time. But the next creature that I have to show you is our bearded dragon, Norbert. So he's one of our rescue animals that we were talking about earlier. Actually arrived to us in terrible condition. He was riddled with parasites, and he had quite a long road to recovery before we were even able to take him out to see people. And you could tell he's a rescue from some little aspects of him. You might notice his wonky toes, bless him. And he also has a kinky tail. And this is just where he didn't receive the right heat and light and supplements when he was a baby. But of course, the great thing is we can then teach people that these aren't necessarily a good or an easy pet, which is actually quite a big thing behind what we do. We don't want everyone to run out and buy owls and lizards. We want
them to clearly not.
Respect and understand.
Do you actually show the lizard feeding, you know?
Yeah, we do sometimes. He's decided he's not interested in eating on cat. He's gone camera shy on me lately. Otherwise, I'd love to show you him chasing down some caterpillars. But at the minute, he prefers to eat at home. I think he's always too busy looking at what is going on. He looks at my little camera light quite a lot as well. I thought I was going to give him a tickle on the head, I think, then. But yeah, he's a great one for Zoom because, of course, he's so placid. He likes to just sort of sit on your hands, have a little look around, gives the children a really good chance to have a look at things like his eyes and the internal ears that he has on the side of his head. So he's a great chap. But yes, I couldn't come and speak to you, Mike, about
introducing you to
some of our
very
Teaching
pleased
Talons
to have
friends.
your two visitors. Thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome.
I'll say goodbye to the lizard. Cheers.
Way. Bye.
Bye. Becky, what can I say? Thank you very much indeed, and also for the pictures and clips of videos which is going to appear on this YouTube video. So thank you very much indeed, and long live and prosper in terms of your enterprise. Fantastic. Thanks a lot.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Bye bye.